If you have kids or know kids who complain about their commute to school, then consider the challenges facing the children in the Atule'er village in southwest China's Sichuan province. The school kids are walking half a mile vertically each way, and they must navigate steep cliffs, hundreds of feet high, on rickety wooden ladders to get to and from school. It illustrates the yawning chasm between China's gleaming first-world cities and its impoverished hinterland, and the difficulties faced by China's many ethnic minorities. The place the Chinese media have dubbed the Cliff Village is in Liangshan Prefecture, an 8-hour drive south of Chengdu, the provincial capital of Sichuan Province. The road traverses the fertile Sichuan Basin and climbs along the banks of the headwaters of the Yangtze River. Atule'er Village, a poor and isolated community of 72 ethnic Yi families. Until the 1950s, the Yi, China's second-largest minority with 5.4 million people, practiced slavery. Among those over 15, nearly a quarter were illiterate, according to China's 2000 census. In Zhaozhou County, where the school is located, the illiteracy rate was 40%. Getting to the top of the 2,600-foot mountain can take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. In recent years, several people have fallen to their deaths. In some places, there are ladders made of wood, vines, or rusty metal. In other places, there are ropes and steel cables, or nothing but a few clumps of grass between the mountain face and the river valley, hundreds of feet below. At the top, the mountain levels off. There are cornfields and mud brick homes, surrounded by mist-shrouded peaks. Villagers raise livestock and plant corn and potatoes, but as there's no road to get them down the mountain, they just eat what they grow themselves. More than a dozen school children and their families assemble at the edge of the plateau and prepare for the trek down the mountain for the start of a new semester. The kids stay in dorms during the week. On weekends, they usually head back home up the mountain. But since Chinese media reported about the village in June, local officials are under pressure to keep the kids from making the trek too often. The group heads down the mountain in single file, the children wearing knapsacks. Some of the smaller kids are attached to their parents by ropes, for safety's sake. Most of the kids have made the trip so many times they've lost count. In other parts of southwest China, the government is relocating minority residents out of their remote mountain communities to better integrate them into the mainstream economy and give them better access to services. But at the school, Communist Party Secretary Mo Zhiri says there are no such plans for Atule'er Village. There's no land down here for people to move to, he explains. So instead, we plan to gradually build a road up the mountain. He apologizes for his thickly accented Chinese, adding that he never went to school. He offers no timeline for the road building. For now, he says the county government will settle for upgrading the ladders, using steel pipes. So it appears that in the near term, the school kids will continue their commute up and down the mountain. The difference is that steel ladders will be better than wooden ones, and both beat grasping at clumps of grass or nothing at all. Atule'er villagers' living conditions have undergone revolutionary changes compared to 30 years ago. Yet they remain largely mired in the pre-modern, pre-industrial age, their development decades or more behind the rest of the country. Some minority communities, not only the Yi, which the government relocates to new areas, do not have the skills or language ability to eke out a living. Some turn to crime and drug use, and end up returning to the mountain dwellings they left. For many majority Han Chinese, these social problems confirm perceptions of the Yi as backward and uncivilized. The resulting discrimination against the Yi, unequal access to jobs and housing, and a pejorative appellation previously written with a dog radical, suggesting that the Yi were uncivilized or even subhuman, just compounds their problems. Atule'er Village has some of the most stunning panoramic views of China's rich countryside. But this beautiful scenery has also hindered the village's need for key services and infrastructure. For a long time, 800 meters of poorly constructed rattan sky ladders were all that connected the village to the outside world. And while this improved with the construction of steel ladders, commutes to school or to the local market were long, arduous, and dangerous journeys. Such limited access also had a destabilizing impact on the village's economy. While some households prospered through limited tourist opportunities, most were left behind, surviving on as little as $422 per annum. The lack of jobs, coupled with no essential infrastructure, information technology, Transport's links and social services meant officials and villagers made the difficult decision to relocate a large part of the community away from the mountain in search of a better life. On May 18, 2020, 84 households said goodbye to Atule'er and its steel ladders for the last time as they moved into modern living spaces in Zhaozhou County, some 75 kilometers from their former home. The move coincided with the relocation of 92 other remote mountain villages from Sichuan who moved out of their restrictive surroundings in one of the largest relocation projects the province has ever facilitated. Each household was given a fully furnished apartment ranging from 25 square meters to 100 square meters depending on the number of people. Modern kitchens, toilets, running water, electricity and gas replaced the clay huts with open fire pits that the villagers had previously lived in. Added to the familiar rural landscape were community centers, kindergartens, hospitals, and recreational facilities, all a short walk away rather than a 2-hour climb down an unsteady ladder. The transformation from clifftop dweller to apartment resident was a dramatic change, and while officials were keen that their quality of life improve exponentially, they also wanted to make sure that they were prepared for such a seismic adjustment. To that end, safety education and occupancy training was organized to help the new residents acclimatize and become familiar with their new mod cons, most of which they had never used before. Careful steps were also taken to ensure that the villagers' ethnic traditions were fully preserved, with the new apartments designed to incorporate similar cultural characteristics to their former dwellings, and the opportunity for residents to continue local professions that reflected their rich history, such as animal husbandry. To ensure poverty doesn't return, the local government has begun extensive training to help find exciting professions for the new residents, which once 10 industrial parks currently under construction are finished, will provide ample opportunity for them to earn a decent wage. In the meantime, 3,000 to 5,000 public welfare posts have been created to ensure that no one from the village is solely dependent on the government for welfare ever again. Relocation from the mountain has, however, not applied to all of Atule'er residents. 30 households will continue living in the village as the local government looks to expand on the village's tourism industry by building a cable cart to aid travelers who find the ladders a daunting trek. But for the majority of Atule'er former residents, they now have the chance to build a new life away from the cliff edge, safe in the knowledge that their days of living in absolute poverty are over.